Hello all, welcome back. In the last session, we have seen how to split large file into multiple small files, and then we stage that information under the table stage through the put command. From table stage, we have seen how to copy into the table. So in this session, we will again split the file into multiple small files, and then we'll stage those things into the named stage, user stage, and from there we'll copy into the table. So this time I'm going to, instead of directly stage into the user stage and named stage, I'm going to create a subdirectories within the stage. For each date, one directory will be created and will be loaded there, all the files associated to that particular date. At the end, we'll also see the framework-based approach to copy the data from different stages into the given table. That's a generic procedure, stored procedure that we are going to write. That can solve the any kind of requirement to move the data from stages to the main table. Let's see how to split the file to small files and place into the date folders that we have created. We are going to use the split utility to perform this activity. This is the first step to prepare the data and keep into the date folders in our local system, and from here we will move to the Snowflake stages accordingly. Now, since the data is ready to stage, let's create the named stage in Snowflake. Let's create the file format object as well in the Snowflake for the CSV file load. Now let's move the data to the internal stages. We have three stages available. Um, One is the table stage. When we created the table, that time the table stage is already available, and we'll have the user stage. These two stages are by default, as you already aware. And then just now we created the named stage as well. So all the three stages are available. So now I'm just listing and seeing if any files already staged in it. If yes, then we'll remove them and then load the files just we created in our local directories. When you observe the user stage, you can see that the worksheets by default will be stored into the user stage. So whenever you are copying the data, you need to be careful. You should exclude these worksheets from your copy into statement, to avoid the errors, because when you open the worksheet here and you are working on it, then those will be staged in internal user stage. That is an important thing that you need to remember. I have removed all the files to be on safe side on from all the three stages. I need not to remove the worksheets, but I um, simply remove them as well. So now let's put the data into the stages that we have splitted into the date directories here. In order to do that, we need to execute the put commands. I'm trying to put the data into all three stages. Same data only, but I'm trying to put into all three stages. So I'm preparing the put command to move the data from local system to the Snowflake stages. If you observe, I am creating the subdirectories under the stage. This is how we'll do that. And also I'm using the parallel option in the put command to stage the files in parallel, and also overwrite if the file is exists. And I'm trying to execute in web UI. So put command won't execute in web UI, so we need to go to the SnowSQL and execute it. Let's go to the SnowSQL and execute it there. So everything is fine. I'm executing it. So I got an error. That's the main reason for that is I think I didn't connect to the SnowSQL. Let's connect and then execute. The files are there. Okay, so let's connect to the SnowSQL and then execute the put command. We need to execute within the SnowSQL. So let me connect. I'm using the connection string, defined it in the config file and connecting to the SnowSQL. Yeah, I'm inside the Snowflake. Now I'm executing the put command. Now you can see that all the 11 files um, uploaded into the table stage under the directory, the date directory that we have mentioned. Now let's list and see all the files are available or not. So you can see that files are available. That's how you can check whether the files are there or not under the stage. And when now you execute the user, and now these worksheets came back because we are working on these worksheets. That's why again these things is there. So the better way of dealing with the user stage is whenever we are doing the copy into, then use the pattern for the files that needs to be copied from the user stage. That's the best way, but for time being I removed them. And then I'll try to stage our files under the user stage. So for that, let's prepare the put command and then use the subdirectories under the stage also, user stage also. And then you can see that we are having emp detail one directory. Under that again date directory will be there. So emp detail is the main directory under the user stage, and under that for each date we'll have the files in the real time. That's how we'll segregate the files, the daily files into the different folders. It will be easy to maintain and stage as well. So let's execute this put command now and then see those will be loading into the folders that's we specified under the user stage. So you can see that 11 files has been created already, and then list down them and see now. You can see that 11 files are there. Again these worksheets came back, so you cannot eliminate the worksheets from the user stage. As I mentioned, only the best way is exclude them in copy and statement is the best way of dealing with the user stage. So similar like this, let's keep the files under the named stage as well, so that all three stages will have our files, and then we'll execute the copy into command from there. Okay, so let's prepare the put statement for the named stage as well. Um, okay, with the same subdirectories. So the whole idea is to just to show you how to stage in all the internal stages, and and from there to copy into the table. In general, you need not to do on all three stages. Either one of them is enough. In general, the common practice we'll do is we'll go with the named stage because of the restrictions that we have on the user stage and stable stage. It's just for understanding purpose we are doing into the all three stages now. Right, so now you can see that the data is there in the named stage as well. Okay, all the files are available now. Now let's try to query the data directly from the stages, and then see whether we can able to access them from the stages. This is not from the table. We are directly trying to query the data from the uh, stages. Here I am querying from the table stage. You can see that the data is available. Let me query it from other stages as well. So I'm trying to query now from the user stage. Here, when I'm trying to query first 100 records from the user stage, you can see that it is throwing an error. So as I earlier mentioned, whenever you are querying the data from the table stage, it will use the table definition in order to display, but that's not the case for the user stage. So if you need to write a select statement on the uh, uh, user stage, then you need to give the proper the column number in order to access it. For example, if you need to access the first column, then $1 should be the $1 should be used to query the first column, and you can give the alias name as well for that, right? So take the alias name and give the alias name to the first column, and then query. So this is how you can refer the columns. Just that is the difference between the table stage and the user stage. This is the same for even for the named stage as well. For named stage also you need to explicitly um, uh, give the column numbers in order to query it. Okay. So I'm trying to do the same thing using I'm trying to query the data from the named stage. Let's see what will happen. First, let's prepare the select statement. Okay, that's the way that we need to do. If I remove this one and try to execute t dot star, then it will not, because as I mentioned, you need to specify the column that you are trying to access. So now the data is available in table stage, user stage, and named stage. So from here, you can write a copy into statement and select the files that you need to move to the uh, Snowflake table. You can do that. So you can write a copy into and take the data and move to the table. So that can be done. So let's create some stored procedure using the Snowflake scripting and make it generic and a framework. So that stored procedure should can copy the data from either one of the stage to the given table. So it is a generic stored procedure which can be used for any stage to the any table to moving the data. Okay, let's have a framework in place. Okay, so any number of tables that you need to migrate, you can use it the framework. So let's go through the stored procedure that I have created. Okay, so here I have created a stored procedure called copy from stage to the table. Okay, where it will take the system date as an input, and what is the table where you need to copy the data, and what is the stage type. Okay, so based on that, it will take the data from that particular stage, and also we are giving the name of the stage. For example, if it is a named stage, then you may need to pass it. If it is a user stage or account stage, you may need not to pass this parameter. But if it is a named stage, then you might need to pass the name of the stage, and the type of the stage, whether it is a user table or the named, and then what is the target table where you need to copy the data. Okay, and what from in the stages, as you observe in the while preparing the data, we have kept the data and sub folders based on the date when the input data came to us, right? So we need to pass that date in order to move that particular date related files into the table. Okay, so when it comes to the coding, what I'm doing here is uh, so I'm checking what is the stage type. If it is a table, then I'm writing the copy into statement. Copy into given table from since the table stage is always will have the same name as the table, so I'm using that one. And subfolder I'm using the date that we are passing as an input here. Okay, and also using the file format. Once the file is successfully able to copy, then there is no need of having that file in the stage, so that can be removed. So that's why I'm using the purge row. If stage type is user, again copy into the target table that has passed as an parameter from the um, we are using the folder structure in such a way that user, and under that we'll have the folder name with the name of the table. Under that we'll have for each date the data. So that's the way we designed our approach to have the proper segregation of the data. So that's how it will take the data and load into the table. And now if it is a named, then you will also pass the stage name. So copy into the target table from the name of the stage. Under that, again, we are using a similar approach like a table name as a sub folder. Under that, again, you will have multiple dates data. Under each date, you will have the file. So like that, I am copying the data. So this is the only the code that we need. So here what I'm doing is I'm preparing the copy command, and below I'm executing it. So when I execute it, it will move the data accordingly. Okay. So after that, you should know that whether your the copy command executed properly or not. How will you know that? Is the way I felt is like, let's go to the load history and make sure whatever we loaded, if we can able to display it as an output from this procedure, that will give a clear picture for us. For that, what I did is I have prepared a select statement from the metadata table, and I'm selecting the data which happened, which inserted into the metadata just now. Okay, I'm using the last load time is greater than or equal to the time that I captured here. So at the starting, I'm capturing the time. After that, only the copy into command executed and loaded. So whatever the records inserted after this time will be displayed it. For example, there is another parallel process that is running, and then if it is doing the same thing to any other table, those also will display it. But Okay, we can tune it little bit more. For that, what I'm doing is I'm using the table name that we are dealing with here. So that's the reason I'm filtering the table also, right? So this is how this stored procedure executes, and then do the our thing. So since it is the a generic stored procedure, so you can pass anything now, and any table, and right, and any stage we can execute it. So let's do execute it and see how it works, right? Okay, let's go back to Snowflake. Okay, so first and foremost thing is, let me delete the data if table is having already. I'm gonna delete the data first. Because there were 43,000 records are there in the staging table. I removed it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the 2022-0509 folder. Employee detail table is the target. From this folder, from the table stage, I will move the data through the stored procedure into the EMP detail table. The name of the stage is not applicable because we are dealing with the table stage. Let's execute this and see what will happen. Okay, so now you can see the table name and then file that we loaded, and you can see that, and then the time when it loaded. So this is coming from the last uh, query that we are using here, and I'm using the result set. So preparing the select statement, executing that, and storing into the result set and returning the result set. That's what I'm doing. So this results is coming from there. And now let's query in the table and check how many records has been loaded here. And the expectation is it should load around 11,000 records. So it loaded it. Now, now what I'll do is I'll go and check in the table stage if the files are also purged or still the files are there, right? So for that, okay, before that, let's see the history, how it executed. Okay, let me, okay, so this is how it executed. So we call this stored procedure, and then it went and copied this one. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, so this is the sequence, right? So first we executed, and within that internally it prepared the copy statement like this, and then after that it executed a copy statement, and then it took the data like this and displayed for us. Okay, so that is how it executed. And now go back and check in the EMP detail stage. So no files are there, but when you check in the user, you have the files, and named stage also you have the files. So now let's go back and execute other two call statements as well. So now what I'm doing here is, from user stage, I'm moving the data from this folder to this table, right? So when I execute this one, let's observe what will happen. When I execute this one, so you can see that it loaded again 11 files. Now you can see here user. So it is a user stage files, right? Loaded and everything is fine here. Let's come back and check whether files are there or purged. So now files are still there. Okay, but if you see, these are not our files that we are referring. These are the worksheets only there. Earlier, if you would have observed, you have all the employees related things. So we purged only whatever successfully loaded to the table. And in the named stage, still you will have the files. So now let's go back to our procedure call, and now I'm trying to load the data from the named stage to this table. Before that, let's check now the count in the table. So it should have 22,000 because we executed two sets from the two different stages, right? So third one we are going to execute. After this execution, we should have 33,000. Of course, that's a duplicate data, but our intention is to see how we are no loading, right? So you can see 33,000 are there. And when you go back and check now, these should be purged. You shouldn't have these files here. So it's clear. All three stages are clear now. One more time, let's see. Nothing is there here. Nothing is there here except the worksheets. And then nothing is there here. And then go to the history and check what happened. So you can see that the last one we executed at the named stage, right? So let's sort it properly and then we'll see. We call this one with the named stage type and given the name of the stage. And then it internally it prepared this statement, copy into statement, and it executed and it returned the data from the load history. So this is how you can prepare the framework based stored procedure. Now let's assume you can schedule this stored procedure from the task, for example, right? You schedule, okay, what I'm trying to say is you can schedule these calls from the task and schedule it to run every 15 minutes, for example, okay? And there will be another process which will stage the data into the associated. So this you can pass as a current date as an input, and these can be passed accordingly, and call this stored procedure from the task and then schedule it to run every 1 hour. So it will keep on look for the files available in the stage and move into the table, right? So that is how you can automate the process. Thank you so much.